Happy Tuesday to you, everyone. I hope you're doing well. Do you like cake? I certainly do. I have a big sweet tooth. And today we're going to bake a cake of sorts to explain why your dog may be behaving the way it is. Because so many times we always look for a reason. And it's mostly an external reason. Why did my dog try to bite my grandchild? Why is my dog so afraid of the 4th of July fireworks when none of my previous dogs were afraid of the fireworks? Why is my dog always hiding underneath my bed when my very best friend comes over? And why does my dog seem to hate every dog on the planet? Every single one of them, when all my previous dogs love going to the dog park. So today I'm going to borrow an example used by Richard Dawkins in his book, The Blind Watchmaker, to describe the influence of your dog's genes and the environment on their behavior. Because so many times that's the hidden cause. There's not always an external influence on your dog's behavior. And by the way, I'm kind of getting photobombed here. So when we get ready to whisk up our ingredients, I'm just going to borrow crouton here. Here you go, crouton. Just whisk all that stuff up. All righty. Well, there's a lot of reasons why cats do what they do, but they're not the subject of today's video. I just had to throw her in there. She's so cute. Okay, so Richard Dawkins, really, one of the things I really like about that author is, and if you've never read any work from Richard Dawkins, I highly encourage you to do so. You'll see me or hear me reference his name and his books in many of my videos because they're just so awesome for explaining why you need to go, cat, why things occur from a level that we kind of all get. He's really good about explaining it. Okay, so know this. Your dog's genes, and yours for that matter, and the environment are so intimately and interactively involved that to allot any aspect of their behavior with just the influence of its genes or the environment is akin to asking whether the area of a rectangle is due to its length or its width. That's right. So I want to point to today the influence of the environment and your dog's genes on future development of genes and why you may be the recipient of behavior that was from your dog's mother or grandmother or father or grandfather. You just may have received what happened from the past. So it's kind of like just going into the future here. So let me kind of explain it here. So in his example, he uses the ingredients of making a cake as the DNA. The DNA, the 2 sticks of butter, the 3 cups of flour, the 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and down the list. And then your genes are the instructions for using the ingredients. Those are your genes. And then the environment is the external influence and how these interact with the environment, and the environment interacts with your ingredients. So for instance, to make the perfect cake or dog of sorts, you have to have all of the DNA has to be lined up properly. And then your genes must interact with the DNA, telling the DNA what to do, where to put it, how it's supposed to form, when develop, the timing. All of these things are here, putting these together, mixing this ingredient with that ingredient with this ingredient, but only doing it after this step here has been performed. And then once all of that is finished, we move into the environment. So now imagine that at one point, all of this was done correctly, but you fail to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Maybe the oven is now at 450 degrees. What kind of outcome will that have on the cake? Maybe you didn't place the cake on the middle rack. Maybe you placed it on the top. Maybe you did not allow it to cool. These would be things akin to a dog being born into a world. I have good genetics. My genes are very strong. But I'm subjected to an environment that alters it to such a degree that it can now alter my DNA. It can alter gene expression. He even used the example, this would be like taking one ingredient. So a very fearful dog, very fearful, afraid of thunderstorms. Afraid of thunderstorms. Because it was so fearful and because genes affect biology and behavior affects biology and your genes, they go in a big circle, one affecting the other, then it'd be like reaching over and changing the ingredient of sugar to salt. Now imagine what that would do. At the end, when the cake was prepared, even if all the rest of the instructions were followed properly, it looks like a cake, feels like a cake, kind of molds itself in this round shape. But yet when you taste it, something's off. It doesn't taste right. And in essence, that's what can happen to our dogs. Something in the environment, that's the way it works. The environment influences behavior, and behavior influences genes. For example, birds with optimal egg-laying capacity will pass that optimal egg-laying capacity to their offspring. Because at that point there, they are more likely to pass that from one generation to the next. Because if you have optimal egg laying, then you have an optimal number of offspring, which means a greater chance that they will survive and pass on that gene. Genes favor anything that provides a better advantage to surviving and reproducing again in the future. And if you read in Richard Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene, in which he views the world from a gene-eye view, he also states that even the very weak genes, even those genes that no one wants, you don't want it in your dog, you don't want it in yourself, try to survive. And they try to perpetuate. So genes affect behavior, and your genes and behavior affect your genes, and the genes will affect their frequency, how often they will show up into the future. And that's why I always advise people, if you're going to purchase a puppy or adopt a puppy, do your best to spend time, not 5 minutes. Everyone has an off day. But in today's technology with cameras, videos of the parents' interaction with strangers and with other dogs. What about their grandparents? What about references? Do your homework. Don't be swept up by just pure emotion alone. Big eyes, and you go, oh my gosh, what a cute puppy. You have no idea what ingredients were changed by that puppy's mother's behavior. You don't know what the environment did to her or her grandmother. And this all develops deep inside of the mother, inside the embryo. It all starts there, even in competition for where my genes are in comparison to my siblings' genes. Even there, weaker ones get less input from the mother, and development-wise. And hence why we have runts, the runt of the litter. And why we have the big, powerful, very confident dogs. If you have a brother or sister, is either one of those, brother or sisters of yours, either of those, claustrophobic, but yet you're not? You came from the same mother. So a lot of people discover they're claustrophobic when they finally get put into a tight space. They didn't know it up until then. Same thing with being afraid of heights. I ask people, are you afraid of heights? They say, I am. I said, have you ever fallen out of a tree? Is there a reason why you're afraid of heights? None that I know of, I just am. You see where I'm going with this? Why do I love the outdoors, but my brother really doesn't? Why is he so good at darn math? And I'm horrible. In fact, I got in trouble for reading Call of the Wild stuck inside of my math book in the 3rd grade. I got busted by the teacher. Why? Why? It starts here. Your DNA, it started somewhere way back in the past. And then the genes interacted with the DNA, gave it instructions, told it what to do. And then you had the environment. The environment and all the selective pressures that the environment places on the individual, especially during their developmental period. And if anything is traumatic or anything that I decide, hey, running from thunderstorms is very advantageous, very adaptive, much better way to survive such a scary and dangerous encounter, then of course, it makes sense. Let's go over here and change that ingredient just a little bit. And then we'll change kind of how we mix that up. And then even if the environment is perfect, it's all wrong. Again, looks the same, feels the same, doesn't taste the same. So I encourage you, if you get a moment, read Richard Dawkins' book, The Blind Watchmaker, as he talks about development from an embryonic level. And the reason why this is so important, as you've heard me in so many of my videos, determining a cause helps you to move forward in your relationship with your dog. It takes the pressure off your dog. You understand it. It may not be good news, but nevertheless, it has predictive information. And with predictive information comes control. Control. Which devil is worse, the one you know or the one you don't know? Allowing you to maybe shape the future. Do what you can. Take the pressure off of you. Take the pressure off your dog. Sit back, think about it. Because sometimes we're caught a little bit too late. So we really can't change that. So therefore, we have to arrive at a negotiated settlement. What am I willing to settle for? What can I negotiate and get out of the situation? And if you look hard enough, trust me, you'll find that great place. So if your cake tastes a little salty, so what? Just add more frosting. That's all you have to do. All right, guys, I hope this helps explain it at a very elementary level. Stay tuned. My next couple of videos that'll be coming up, I'm going to try and highlight some more specifics about genetics in the environment and talk about how quickly behaviors can change over simply one generation. One generation. I'll give the example of the male crickets on Kauai, how they all grew silent in a 10-year period. It's amazing, amazing story. And then what happened afterwards. And I'll be parking many of these in front of you just so that we understand. Understand. And don't go blaming breeders and blaming the person who adopted a dog before you or the person who owned a dog before you. Don't blame. Let's look within first. Look within. And this is it. DNA, genes. Let's look within. And then let's do the best we can to make sure that no matter what ingredients we received, how the instructions they were given, that we at least can control the environment as best we can. All right, so stay tuned. Now, where'd that darn cat go? All right, guys, have a great day.